Imagine for a moment that everything in your life has been leading you here to this precise intersection of love and timing. We often believe that love is something we stumble into by chance, as if fate throws two souls together in a chaotic swirl and hopes they figure it out. But in truth, when you look closer, you begin to see that there's a rhythm, an orchestration, timing so perfect that it can't be explained by mere coincidence. It is not hurried, nor is it delayed. It unfolds exactly as it must, like the blossoming of a flower in the first warmth of spring. It does not open one moment before, and it cannot resist opening one moment after. You see, what makes divine timing so mysterious is that it often frustrates us while we wait. We grow impatient, restless, even doubtful. We think, why not now? Why must I go through this season of loneliness, this season of silence? But just as a fruit picked before its ripeness tastes sour, so too does a love that is rushed before its season leave a bitterness. The waiting is not punishment, it is preparation. Every moment before you meet the one whom God has set aside for you is a shaping of your character, a softening of your heart, a clearing away of the fears and illusions that would otherwise distort your vision of love. If you could step outside yourself and see the bigger picture, you'd realize that while you are waiting, the other person is also being prepared. Their life is being rearranged, their spirit refined, their heart stretched in ways that make them capable of embracing you fully when the time comes. Two souls ripen separately like stars finding their way through the night until at the appointed hour they converge. And suddenly what was once two paths becomes one. The beauty is that you don't have to force it. You don't have to anxiously chase after signs or manipulate circumstances. When the divine timing is ready, things begin to unfold with a grace that feels almost effortless. You'll notice that the right people step into your life, the wrong ones quietly fade away, doors open without strain, and a deep sense of peace begins to take root. That peace is the whisper of confirmation, the gentle assurance that you are no longer striving against the flow, but are moving with it. And what a relief that is to no longer struggle in the grasping of human effort, but to surrender into the rhythm of something far larger than yourself. Think of the ocean tide. It does not need to be pushed. It does not need to be hurried. It comes and it goes with perfect certainty. The same is true of love that is aligned with divine will. It doesn't need convincing. It doesn't need constant questioning. It simply arrives, and when it does, you recognize it not by the fireworks of sudden infatuation, but by the quiet certainty of belonging. Of course, this timing rarely matches the timetable we imagine for ourselves. We set goals, deadlines, and expectations, married by this age, children by that age, stability by another. And when life does not unfold according to our blueprint, we despair, thinking something has gone wrong. But what has gone wrong is only our insistence on controlling what was never ours to control. The deeper truth is that divine timing is not about meeting your expectations. It's about exceeding them in ways you could never have designed on your own. There's a great paradox here. When you let go of your desperate grip on time, you actually find that love appears more swiftly, more naturally, more harmoniously, because then you are no longer living from fear, but from trust. Trust is the soil in which divine love takes root. Without it, even the right person at the wrong time can wither. With it, even the long wait can feel like a gift. And when that timing comes, when your heart is joined with another's in the fullness of readiness, you will understand that why it could not have happened a day sooner. You will look back on the waiting, the tears, the longing, and see that they were not wasted. They were the very ground out of which this union could blossom. So let go of the clock you've been holding in your hand. Let go of the worry that you are late or that love has passed you by. You are right on time, and so is the one destined for you. When it happens, you won't need to question it. You'll feel it in the very marrow of your being. And in that moment, you will know love has never been delayed. It has only been arriving exactly when it should. There is a peculiar kind of knowing that comes when love is truly guided. It isn't loud, it isn't dramatic, and it certainly isn't frantic. Instead, it feels like the quiet settling of a lake after a storm, a deep calm that tells you that you no longer need to search, no longer need to wrestle with uncertainty. When God connects two hearts, he leaves behind a signature, and that signature is peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from convincing yourself with logic, not the kind that comes from clinging desperately to what you want, but the kind that simply exists without effort, as if it had been there all along, waiting for you to notice. Many people confuse love with excitement, with the rush of emotion that burns bright and then fades just as quickly. They mistake turbulence for passion, chaos for chemistry. But there is a profound difference between the unstable energy of desire and the grounded presence of peace. When the connection is real, when it is blessed, it doesn't leave you doubting. You don't wake up in the night rehearsing endless questions in your mind. You don't find yourself constantly seeking reassurance. Instead, there is an unshakable stillness, a knowing that no matter what storms swirl outside, this connection is steady, anchored, immovable. This peace is not fragile. It doesn't shatter the moment there's disagreement or difficulty. Rather, it endures through the waves because its source is not the shifting sands of emotion, but something eternal. You will notice that when you are with the right person, even silence becomes a comfort. The need to constantly fill the space with words dissolves because your spirits are already in dialogue. You feel understood without having to explain. You feel safe without having to defend. That is how peace speaks. It speaks through the absence of struggle, and that clarity is another confirmation. Life has a way of becoming clearer when two hearts are truly aligned. The doubts that once clouded your judgment lift like fog before the morning sun. Suddenly, what once seemed complicated becomes simple. Choices feel less like battles and more like natural steps. This clarity does not mean you will know every detail of the future, but it does mean that you no longer feel paralyzed by uncertainty. The direction is illuminated just enough for you to walk forward with confidence. The absence of confusion is one of the most overlooked gifts of divine love. So many wander through relationships where doubt gnaws constantly at the edges, where fear of abandonment or betrayal lingers like a shadow. But when God has joined two souls, that shadow begins to recede. There is transparency, openness, and a deep sense of safety. You don't feel the need to hide parts of yourself, nor do you sense that they are hiding anything from you. What exists instead is honesty, not forced, but natural, flowing from the assurance that love has nothing to lose by being fully revealed. Some might expect such peace to be boring, as if love needs drama to stay alive, but in truth, it is only in peace that true passion can blossom. For passion is not sustained by chaos, it is sustained by security, by trust, by the freedom to express yourself without fear. Peace is not the absence of fire, but the hearth in which fire can burn steadily without being extinguished. And so when you wonder if this person is truly meant for you, listen closely not to the noise of your emotions, but to the stillness within your spirit. Do you feel at rest in their presence? Does your soul settle like a bird finally finding its home? That is the kind of confirmation you cannot manufacture, for it comes from beyond you. It comes as a gift, a quiet whisper from eternity itself. So do not chase after love that leaves you restless. Love that unsettles your heart with constant questions. The one who is meant for you will not pull you into chaos. They will draw you into peace. And when you find that peace, you will know without needing to be told, this is the love that was written for you from the beginning. There is something extraordinary that happens when two people are not only drawn together by affection, but by something deeper, something that transcends mere attraction. You begin to see that love in its highest form is not just the union of bodies or even the meeting of minds, but the alignment of spirits. When two hearts walk in step with the same rhythm of faith, the same values, the same vision for life, then the relationship is not merely pleasant, it becomes unshakable. It transforms into a partnership that can endure whatever life may bring. Think for a moment about harmony in music. Two notes played randomly may sound harsh, out of tune, grating to the ear. But when they are tuned correctly, when they resonate with one another, they create a chord that is richer, fuller, more beautiful than either note could have achieved on its own. That is what happens when two souls are aligned. There is a resonance, a wholeness, a sense that together you create something neither could embody alone. Without this alignment, love becomes fragile. You may feel drawn to someone's beauty, their charm, or their wit. But if your deepest convictions are at odds, the foundation begins to crack. Imagine building a house where one beam leans east and the other west. No matter how polished it looks on the surface, eventually the structure cannot withstand the strain. But when two people are aligned, it is like building on bedrock, secure, steady, enduring. This alignment does not mean you agree on every minor detail, nor does it mean you lose your individuality. Rather, it means that at the core, your spirits move in the same direction. You share the same reverence for what is sacred, the same desire to live with integrity, the same openness to growth. And when challenges come, as they inevitably do, you are not pulled apart by conflicting values. Instead, you find yourselves standing side by side, facing the storm together, strengthened by the unity of your vision. It is often in the trials of life that alignment proves its worth. When financial difficulties arise, or health struggles appear, or the unexpected chaos of life intrudes, alignment keeps you from turning against one another. Instead of saying, this person is in my way, you say, this person is with me, and together we will move through this. And that subtle shift makes all the difference. Where division weakens, Alignment empowers. Spiritual alignment also has a way of multiplying joy. Think of two people who share a love for the same music, the same landscape, the same laughter. Now imagine that multiplied by faith, by vision, by calling. Your joy in life becomes doubled, not just because you have someone to share it with, but because their joy is interwoven with yours. You see their fulfillment as your own, their growth as your own, their victories as your own. In this way, alignment erases the illusion of separation. Two become one, not as a poetic phrase, but as a lived reality. The truth is, alignment is not something you can fabricate. You can pretend for a while. You can compromise endlessly, but eventually the deeper truths of who you are will rise to the surface. That is why it is so vital that the connection God brings into your life is one that reflects His wisdom. For only then can you trust that the alignment is genuine, not forced. It is the natural outworking of two lives designed to complement one another. And when you experience this kind of union, you understand that love is not simply about finding someone to walk beside you, but about finding someone who shares the very compass that guides your steps. With such alignment, marriage is no longer a mere arrangement. It becomes a sacred journey, a living testimony to what is possible when two hearts move as one. So when you meet the one whose spirit resonates with yours, whose values affirm your own, whose vision stretches into the same horizon, you will know. For alignment is not something you argue yourself into. It is something you feel in the depth of your being. And in that knowing, there is no need for striving, because two lives already tuned to the same song will always create music together. When most people think of passion in marriage, they think of fleeting moments of intensity, an attraction, a spark, a longing that burns brightly for a time and then fades into ordinary routine. But real passion, the kind that sustains and deepens over a lifetime, is not rooted merely in desire. It is rooted in purpose. It is born from the recognition that you and your partner are not only lovers, but co-creators. Not only companions, but collaborators in something much greater than yourselves. Attraction can ignite quickly, like a flame that leaps up from a match. But purpose is the wood that keeps the fire alive. Without it, the flame dies out just as swiftly as it began. Passion in its truest form is not just about looking into each other's eyes, but about looking together in the same direction. It is about knowing that the love you share is carrying you both toward a calling, toward a life that matters beyond the small circle of your own desires. Think of how it feels when you find yourself engaged in something meaningful, something that draws out the best in you. And now imagine sharing that same energy, that same momentum with someone you love. Every goal becomes sweeter because it is no longer yours alone. Every triumph feels larger, every challenge less daunting, because the fire that drives you is not burning in isolation. It is burning in two hearts at once, and together that fire grows brighter. When passion is rooted in purpose, it is not easily shaken. The ordinary rhythm of daily life, work, bills, routines, does not extinguish it because the love is not confined to the shallow waters of momentary excitement. It runs deep, flowing into the very structure of who you are and what you're here to do. This kind of passion gives energy even in the mundane. Washing dishes together, planning for the future, raising children, supporting one another's dreams. Each of these ordinary acts becomes charged with significance, when you know they are woven into a greater tapestry, and there is something magnetic about this. Others see it, they feel it. A marriage built on passion and purpose radiates a light that touches not just the two people within it, but those around them as well. Friends, family, even strangers notice the difference. They sense the authenticity, the vitality. The way love itself becomes a testimony to what is possible when two people live not merely for themselves, but for something higher. It is important to understand that passion rooted in purpose is not always easy. It demands sacrifice, patience, and the willingness to see beyond immediate gratification. But it is precisely this quality that makes it endure. For a love that is built on temporary feelings will collapse under pressure, while love that is anchored in purpose draws strength from every challenge. Even hardships become shaping you, refining you, teaching you to grow not only as individuals, but as a unified force. Consider a fire again. When winds blow, a weak flame flickers out, but a strong fire fed by purpose uses the wind to grow hotter, brighter, more powerful. In the same way, when trials come, passion that is rooted in something eternal will not diminish, it will expand. It will remind you that the love you share is not simply for comfort, but for transformation. It is meant to create, to build, to serve as a light in the darkness. So if you ever find yourself questioning whether what you feel is true passion, ask yourself, does this love inspire me toward growth? Does it push me toward my higher calling? Does it add meaning to my life beyond the surface of desire? If the answer is yes, then you have found something more profound than fleeting sparks. You have found a fire that will last because it burns with the energy of purpose. And when you stand side by side with the one who shares that fire, you will realize that love was never meant to be small. It was meant to be vast, creative, and alive with meaning. For passion without purpose fades, but passion with purpose becomes eternal. It is easy to imagine love as a smooth path, a golden road free from obstacles where two people simply glide along in endless harmony. But anyone who has lived even a little knows this is not how life unfolds. Storms arrive, sometimes without warning. Difficulties creep in, testing not only your patience, but the very foundation of your relationship. And it is in these moments, and not the easy ones, that the true strength of a God-ordained union is revealed. When two hearts are joined by something higher than themselves, trials do not have the power to destroy them. Instead, those very trials become the soil in which resilience grows. Every challenge, every setback, every misunderstanding, if approached with faith and grace, becomes an opportunity to draw closer, to deepen the bond, to learn that love is not only about joy, but also about endurance. A marriage rooted in divine blessing is not fragile. It bends with the wind, but does not break. Think about the way trees survive storms. The wind may howl, the rain may batter them, but the roots go deep, anchoring them in the earth. In the same way, when your union is grounded in God's design, the storms of life do not uproot you. They may shake you, they may rattle your branches, but they also push your roots deeper. They strengthen what is unseen, that hidden foundation of trust, patience, and loyalty that holds everything together. Difficulties in marriage are not signs of failure. They are invitations to grow in understanding, to extend forgiveness, to practice humility. When money is tight, you learn to find joy not in possessions but in presence. When health falters, you discover the depth of compassion and the beauty of sacrifice. When misunderstandings arise, you learn the art of listening, of softening pride, of remembering that the bond is more important than the argument. Each hardship is not an obstacle in the way of love, but a stepping stone toward a stronger, truer love. The mistake many make is to believe that when difficulties come, it must mean the love is not meant to be. They walk away searching for something easier, forgetting that ease does not build character and comfort does not create depth. And here lies a paradox. The very trials we resist are often the ones that prepare us for the fullness of love. Without them, we remain shallow, brittle, easily broken. With them, we become resilient, capable of carrying the weight of commitment, the beauty of covenant. A blessed marriage is not defined by the absence of hardship, but by the ability to face hardship without losing sight of love. This is why grace is so essential. Grace allows you to see your partner not as an adversary, but as a fellow traveler on the same path. It allows you to forgive when mistakes are made, to extend kindness when tempers flare, to remember that you are on the same side, fighting not against one another, but alongside one another. With grace, trials do not separate, they unite. And in those moments when the storm passes, when the sky clears and you look back on what you've endured together, you realize something remarkable. The bond has become stronger, the love deeper, the connection more sacred. You no longer fear the storms ahead because you know that together you have the strength to withstand them. So do not fear the trials. Do not mistake them for signs of weakness or absence of blessing. They are the very chisels that carve love into its truest form. And when you learn to embrace them, to see them not as enemies, but as teachers, you discover that a love which has endured hardship is a love that cannot be broken. For it is only when two hearts endure together that they learn the truth. Storms do not destroy love. They reveal its strength. Marriage, when seen through its truth lens, is not just a contract, not simply a partnership, and not merely a social arrangement. It is something far deeper, something sacred. It is a covenant, a binding of two souls before the eternal, a joining that reflects something beyond what the eyes can see. To call it a covenant is to recognize that it carries a weight, a holiness, a significance that far exceeds human convenience or fleeting desire. In a world where relationships are often treated as disposable, where the moment things become difficult, people are tempted to walk away, the idea of covenant might seem heavy, even restrictive, but in reality, it is the very opposite. It is liberating because a covenant is not about being trapped. It is about being held by something greater than emotion, steadied by a foundation that does not waver when feelings shift or circumstances change. Think about how a river flows. If it had no banks to contain it, the water would scatter, becoming a flood, directionless, destructive. But because the river is given boundaries, it is able to move with force and purpose, carving valleys, nourishing life, reaching the ocean. Covenant works the same way. It is not meant to limit love, but to give it shape, to give it direction, to allow it to grow into something powerful and enduring. When two people stand before God and declare their vows, what they are really saying is, this our love is not built on convenience, and nor is it subject to the changing winds of circumstance. It is anchored in something eternal. It is a promise not only to each other, but also to the divine presence that binds them. And this promise transforms marriage from a private affair into something sacred, something that carries within it the echo of the eternal. This is why marriage, in its highest form, is a reflection of divine love itself. It is meant to mirror the way the divine loves us, steadfast, unconditional, patient, forgiving. In marriage, you are invited to embody that same love toward another human being, to become a living testimony of what grace looks like in practice. Every act of kindness, every moment of forgiveness, every choice